One, Donald Trump to put troops into Mexico to fight the drug cartels. A hit piece green light on John Fetterman. And the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division says we're going after prosecutors who want to use race to make plea deals after a call for that from the Will Cain Show. 2, listening to the experts and the students directly after the first 100 days of Donald Trump. 3, Alcatraz app opened as a new federal prison. Trivia, quiz. What did you know about Alcatraz? It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, and the Fox News Facebook page, every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time. Make sure to set a reminder. Leave us a 5-star review if you think it's so well-deserved. Jump into the comment section and become a member of the Willisha. If you're listening on terrestrial radio, 3 dozen stations across this great United States of America, just hit subscribe at Apple or on Spotify. I recently sat down with about 6 to 8 students from the University of Dallas, freshmen all the way to senior. I wanted to hear from young people how they feel about voting for Donald Trump. All the students interviewed were voters of Donald Trump, but 104 or 5 days later, how do they feel? What would they do if they had a do-over? We're going to share that interview with you a little bit later here on the Will Cain Show. Plus, with Trump saying he might reopen Alcatraz as a federal prison. Well, let's see how much we actually know about the infamous Alcatraz. Today, at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock Central, and 1 o'clock Pacific, we will be debuting a brand new studio for the Will Cain Shows in Dallas, Texas. When they called me in December and offered me my own show, the most glorious thing that I heard that day was from Dallas. It meant I got to stay home with my family. It meant I got to live in my culture, with my people, in my state. But for the past 3 months, I've been hosting that show in a less than ideal environment. Fine, you get a show off the ground, and I'm grateful that the audience has awarded us with record ratings over the first 3 months. But I've had a grand vision for what I want that show to be. And as everything in life, it's always a work in progress. There's never a finish line. There's only a journey. But today's a big step forward in that journey, because the way I envision a show and hanging out with you is it does require somewhat of a physical environment, only in so much as it allows for authenticity. I mean, authenticity is the currency of a show, and many great shows have been built around a single shot. But I move. I'm visual. I like to be spontaneous. I like to be active. I have a hard time sitting still. I don't know what to do with my hands. So getting a studio that allows me to do those things, to move around, to be authentic, to be spontaneous is a big part. We've got Tinfoil Pat and Two-A-Days Dan hanging out with us here on the show today. They haven't been to Dallas, but I thought I might share with the audience a little bit of what it looks like. If you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, you'll be able to look over here into the studios for the home office of the Will Cain Show. But I've got a video for the new studios, and I'm pretty excited. It's beautiful. It's built by my man, Tiger Stanley.
Heck
He's
yeah.
an absolute genius.
Legend.
It is a whole team of people from New York and L.A. that have come into Dallas, spent a month eating bread Zeppelin, and built this beautiful new studios. We've got gigantic, I'd say, 350 inches of video monitors lined up all together where we can display the news, put up graphics, interact, akin to Off the Wall with Will and Pete. We've got a huge desk with a nice Texas star made out of lava rock, a little hat tip to Hawaii. In the middle of the desk, built by Tiger, where we're going to have in-studio guests starting today. And as inspired by ESPN Scott Van Pelt, as not seen, I think, anywhere on Fox, I asked for a big vertical monitor that when I couldn't have a guest on set, well, then we can put them in that video monitor and we can interact as though we are right there together. Let's break out of boxes. Let's try not to do the same thing that's always done on television. It's got a concrete and wood finish. It's just really exciting. I hope, and it's going to be a work in progress as well. This really allows us to be more of who we are at the Will Cain Show. We could have live performances from country music artists, and we can do a lot of things, including hopefully grab that vibe, that authentic vibe that we want for the Will Cain Show. So tune in today at 3 o'clock Central and 4 o'clock Eastern for the brand new studios in Dallas, Texas. But let's get to it today. We've got quick takes, so let's get to that, starting with story number 1. All right, to take us through, we got the most electric man in television to take us through some of the 4 biggest stories today we are paying attention to here with a version of quick takes. Take it away, Tinfoil Pat.
We got a big one, Will. DOJ civil rights investigation. Now, you may have heard this story because we covered it on this show and on the TV show. Hennepin County, Minnesota prosecutor Mary Moriarty called for race in plea dealings. And so here's a clip, well, a full screen of that, right? She said...
Here's what she wrote.
What she said. Yeah.
Here's what she said in an internal memo to the county attorneys under her jurisdiction. She said, while racial identity and age are not appropriate grounds for departures from the Minnesota sentencing guidelines, proposed resolution should consider the person charged as a whole person, including their racial identity and age. While these factors should not be controlling, they should be part of the overall analysis. Racial disparities harm our community, lead to distrust, and have a negative impact on community safety. Suggesting to our prosecutors, when making a plea deal, take a look at the whole person. Don't let it be controlling, but take a look and factor in their skin color on what kind of deal they get from Hennepin County.
That's right. And so it turns out that the DOJ is now going to be investigating her and looking into this call. And it couldn't have come at a better time because someone on 4:30 on the TV side called for this exact thing. So here we go. Play the clip.
I'm concerned how over the past 5 to 7 years we've adopted openly racialist policies, allowing small police departments, allowing prosecutors, allowing colleges to take race into account. It's what we fought for over 150 years to do away with. And within a matter of 5 years, we openly adopted it across this country. And it's a question for Leo Terrell, it's a question for Harmeet Dillon, a question for Pam Bondi. What at the Office of Civil Rights at the DOJ will be done? It's a question for you right now, May. What will be done to do away with these openly, I think, racist and unconstitutional policies?
DEI is racial preferencing. It is racial discrimination, and you can't just change the name and try and escape what this is. So the civil rights team, but also the Department of Education, the Department of Health and Human Services, these departments all have civil rights teams there. Those civil rights teams are supposed to enforce civil rights law in any entity that touches the federal government. So every single one of our civil rights teams, including the Department of Education, has already sent a lot of letters, have done a lot of investigations. That's going to be in K through 12, Head Start, it doesn't matter, higher ed, Harvard, Columbia. These are all places where we are going to ensure that you treat people equally according.
That's May Mailman, spokesperson for the White House. It's encouraging to hear now, after that call a week ago on the Will Cain Show, that the DOJ and Harmeet Dillon at the Civil Rights Division is going to look into Hennepin County specifically. I think what Hennepin County is doing, taking race into account when it comes to plea bargains, is absolutely unconstitutional. Also, also reprehensible and morally absolutely absurd. This is what we fought, as I said, for 150 years to do away with. To all of a sudden embrace it over a 5-year period is something that has to be actively sought out, rooted out, and prosecuted. I'm happy to see the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ beginning this process of an investigation into Hennepin County. Don't stop. Because over 5 years, we have implemented this type of racist, unconstitutional policies at every level of almost every institution. Go after them. Pursue them. Because if you don't, William Barrett Travis, draw a line in the sand. This is our Alamo. You give up where you started, what you fought for to create in this country. Meanwhile, by the way, speaking of the justices and the justice system, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson has talked about anybody who criticizes the judiciary is also now, guess what, an attack on our democracy. She said the following: the threats and harassments are attacks on our democracy, on our system of government, and they ultimately risk undermining our Constitution and the rule of law. You know, I actually love the justice system. I love the law. I went to law school. I have great reverence for it. I think it's the enshrinement, the ideals of our founding fathers. But it isn't the Pope. It isn't the High Mount. The Supreme Court of the United States is wise sometimes, but it is not. It should not be sanctified and untouchable. You can criticize the judiciary. You can criticize Supreme Court justices. You can criticize all branches of government. And it's so cliched at this point for anyone who is withering criticism to say, you attacking me is an attack on democracy. It's absurd that somehow the judiciary is above the public debate. And the fact that the judiciary in many levels, mostly lower court levels, is having it out with the executive as we speak, that's part of a messy republic. Because we are not a democracy. We are a republic. Take it away, Tinfoil Pat.
What could be more exciting than this segment right here with me? NHL playoff hockey, Will. The Dallas Stars, a couple nights ago, they beat the Avalanche in Game 7 to go on to the second round. Last night, double overtime win for the Jets over the Blues. It looks like your Dallas Stars are going to be playing the Winnipeg Jets, the President's Trophy-winning Winnipeg Jets, in the next round. How do you feel?
I feel like this. I saw a tweet this morning. It was from 2014, and somebody bumped it up. Why watch playoff hockey? You could just snort a pile of cocaine and ride a motorcycle out of a helicopter.
It's a pretty apt description of it.
It's amazing. Playoff hockey is amazing. Exhilarating. I've never snorted a pile of cocaine and driven a motorcycle out of a helicopter. But, if it's like playoff hockey, it's amazing. And I don't want to do this thing like, NBA sucks. Here's the thing. It's hard not to compare the two because they happen at the same time. And you do make active choices about what to watch. And I did have Saturday night was incredible. I was actually at a charity event, so I was having to watch it on my phone. And this guy that I'd met that night was sitting next to me. And he's the only person that really seemed to show a lot of interest sitting next to me about like, hey, there's like a big game going on right now, Game 7.
Yeah. Should we go watch?
And when they scored the third goal, the Stars were down 2-0 going into the third period. With 12 minutes left, they were still down 2-0. And then Mikko Rantanen was unleashed, one of the greatest players in hockey, who Dallas traded for this year, and who at the beginning of the year was a Colorado Avalanche. And he was traded away from them. And so you have to understand, in 12 minutes, he destroys his former team. He gets a hat trick and an assist. 2 nights in a row, he sets the record for most points in a single playoff period with 4 points. It was 3 before him. He did it in Game 6. He did it again in Game 7. He put the Stars on his back. It was incredible. And when they hit that third goal to go ahead, I grabbed that dude sitting next to me who I just met that night's knee and stared him deep in the eye. It was, and he's like, what? I was like,
did we just become best friends? Yup.
It was incredible, man. But then I had to make a choice on Sunday, and I was interested in who the Stars would play, the Jets or the Blues. They were in a Game 7. But it was also, Cavs, Pacers. There was also Warriors, Rockets, Game 7, right? And here's Warriors, Rockets, a complete blowout Game 7. The Warriors destroy the Rockets. Meanwhile, the Jets, down 3-1 with 2 minutes left, scored 2 goals to tie the game, the last one with 1.6 seconds left on the clock. And then it sends it into double overtime, and the Jets win in double overtime. It's insane what playoff hockey is. It's the best. I mean, if it's not the best, I know college football and NFL is incredible.
No.
It's so good. Playoff hockey.
Well,
Go ahead, Tinfoil Pat.
Oh, sorry. Real quick. The last President's Trophy winning team to also win the Stanley Cup, the 2012-2013 Chicago Blackhawks. So things are looking up for the Stars. Just saying.
All right.
All right. So moving on, we have one of our favorite senators, Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania. He was caught on video in a flight to Pittsburgh, arguing with a flight attendant. We're going to show you the video right now.
Is your seatbelt on?
Yes, it is.
Okay, it needs to be visible for the crew at all times. That's not an us thing. That's a federal regulation. So it's okay. It's okay.
I put my seatbelt on and I haven't said anything.
Okay, it's okay, but it just has to be visible to the crew at all times. It's a
Sounds like a bit
This is
of
a minute and a
hold-up
half
over
long
seatbelt.
video. Yeah, minimum half long video. Fetterman arguing with the pilot. I don't know what they're arguing about, by the way. Like, because it's like, hey, your seatbelt's not visible. I don't know if Fetterman refused to put on his seatbelt or he wouldn't take it out from underneath his hoodie. I don't know, but like they're arguing like you got to see the seatbelt, and you can't hear Fetterman very well in this video because he's facing away from the person taking the shot. But the flight to Pittsburgh apparently was held up for quite some time over this.
Ugh.
So there's something going on with John Fetterman. There was a New York Magazine piece late last week from, like, the primary source is a longtime aide to John Fetterman, Aiden Gentleson, longtime aide. And he wrote a 1,600-word email to a doctor for Fetterman, laying out, like, this case of all the concerns he have. It's weird because a lot of the stuff he lays out in this email, it's like, why would you be telling a doctor this stuff? But it's like Fetterman eats fast food several times a day. They say he's not taking his meds. He mumbles to himself in long sermons, monologues to himself. He's extremely moody, on and on and on and on. And they talk about his spiral going into depression when, I believe it was in 2023, he went in for 6 weeks into the hospital for depression. And this has all been bumped up, and they're talking about what bad shape John Fetterman's in. Now, that may be true. I mean, I don't think any of us look at John Fetterman and go, that right there looks like the picture of rock-solid stability. No one thinks that. But I will say this. He looks a lot better than he did when he was elected and protected by Democrats in 2020. Literally had a stroke on the campaign, right? Could not speak and was lionized and protected by the press. Now, undoubtedly, Fetterman is doing better, is in better shape, can communicate. Maybe he has mood issues. I'm not actually going to argue with some of the facts of this. But what I would say is he's better than he was, but now there's a green light on John Fetterman. Why? Well, he's anti-illegal immigration. Why? Well, he's pro-Israel. Why? He's more moderate on a host of issues than the Democratic Party requires. Why? Because he was one of the first to go meet after his election with Donald Trump. Why? Because he considered voting for Pete Hegseth and did vote for Pam Bondi as Donald Trump's cabinet, the only Democrat to do so. I believe what's really going on here is the reason you're hearing this stuff about Fetterman is he's now no longer in the protected bubble. He's been too independent. He's been too much outside the Democratic establishment's requirements. And now you can greenlight a huge piece in New York Magazine detailing his declines, which may or may not be true, but the point is would not have been told 3 years ago and was not told 5 years ago, 4 years ago. This is more a story of what happens when you step out of line than any obvious decline of John Fetterman two-a-days.
Which is how it should not be at all. I mean, if you don't toe the exact party line of what the Democrats want, and then all of a sudden you're this pariah to them because he's willing to cross party lines, because he's willing to do these things. We need more people like that to get actual things done, and it just won't change.
And I do believe that's what this is about, not his moodiness or how much McDonald's he eats.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean to diminish it. Maybe he is really like not solid. I don't know. I haven't been with him, But I do know he had a car accident after going on Real Time with Bill Maher. He rear-ended a lady, totaled 2 cars. That's part of this piece. They talk about how reckless of a driver he is. Again, I don't know what that has to do. That could be independent of his mental issues. But what is completely clear is there's a green light on John Fetterman. Go ahead, Tinfoil.
Thanks, Will. Troops in Mexico? Well, President Trump says that he did offer Mexico. Here, listen to this.
Mexico is saying that I offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico to take care of the cartel. She wants to know, is that true? Do you think I'm going to answer that question?
That's why I'm asking. We'll see.
I will answer it. It's true. If Mexico wanted help with the cartels, we would be honored to go in and do it. I told her that. I would be honored to go in and do it. The cartels are trying to destroy our country. They're evil.
I love that.
That's such a great answer.
Do you think I'm going to answer that question? I will answer it. It's true.
He literally,
It's
he
like-
had to be president, a billionaire. He could have been a comedian. He could have been like one of the world's greatest comedians.
Wow.
And he just passed it up.
I've met him, and I came away.
Yeah, that's
Obviously,
funny.
I've talked about it. I came away from it. He's in on his own joke, right? You can see it in his
Yeah.
eyes.
Yeah.
But like, that's the kind of clip where I don't know if he's in on it. Like, is that you know how a comedian intends a joke? Did he intend the roller coaster of that answer? Did you think I'm going to answer that question? I will answer it.
We should watch it
It's
again. Real quick.
Okay.
All right.
Mexico is saying that I offered to send U.S. troops into Mexico to take care of the cartel. She wants to know, is that true? Do you think I'm going to answer that question?
That's why I'm asking. We'll see.
I will answer it. It's true.
He definitely set himself up. He set himself up for that. You could see it on his face. He's
The
like,
way
"What?"
that he
He's like,
says
"Watch
it,
this. Watch
He
this."
puts her on her heels.
Yeah.
Right? He puts her on her heels. Like, how dare you ask? What kind of idiot would answer that question? That's national security. You think I'm going to answer that question?
Yeah.
I will answer that question. It's true.
That's some weird logic in talking to a reporter.
As for the actual substance of this, wow. You know, he says he's offered up troops, American military forces, to battle the cartels in Mexico. He says Claudia Sheinbaum, who's a lovely woman. She's a lovely woman, but she's scared. She can't walk. She's scared to walk. Scared of the cartels in Mexico. She doesn't want it right now. It's pretty fascinating. Well, a couple things I would say. Did you guys see the interview with CNN on a cartel member?
No.
CNN sat down with a member of the Sinaloa cartel, and it is pretty wild. It's pretty wild how sympathetic it sounds. It's like Donald Trump has, designated the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. What would your message be to Donald Trump? And she asks him, it's like, not how do you feel about being designated, but what's your it's a weird, I can't decide if the reporter's just kind of not good at this, like forming questions and asking questions, but there is no doubt it sounds sympathetic. Like, what's your message to Donald Trump calling you a terrorist? How do you feel about being called a terrorist to these drug cartels? Who's all, masked up, got his shades on. He's actually wearing like blue surgical gloves as well. I guess maybe he's got tats on his hands. That's probably why he's doing that. Who knows? Maybe he has a marijuana leaf and smiley face and all
It's
of the
photoshopped. It's
knuckle
photoshopped.
tats.
Don't worry about it. It's photoshopped.
It's photoshopped.
Yeah.
Totally. That's what you believe. That's what she told us. That's what she believes. The question is, if we put troops into Mexico, does this become our Vietnam? I mean, Green Berets making raids in Culiacan. What does that mean, 6 months down the road, 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road? It's easy to see how you get sucked in. We have had direct interviews with cartel members where they have told me, no, it won't be Vietnam. Because why? They don't work together. You take one out, the guy that replaces him doesn't avenge him. There's no death spiral because they're all mercenaries looking for their own advancement. And when you cut the head off the snake, a new head grows. That's all there is to it. But you can't imagine, the minute a Green Beret dies on that raid in Culiacan, then what's the response got to be?
Yeah.
Then what's the escalatory effect from America? Not so much like, oh my gosh, how formidable are the cartels? Because I'm sure he's right. They'll never work together. But what's the escalatory spiral of losing Americans in the drug war in Mexico? I think that's pretty concerning, even though I'm all for taking out the drug cartels. That's why we have drones. All right, let's leave it there. That's quick takes for today. At the end of the 101st days of Donald Trump's presidency, we sat down with students from the University of Dallas. To hear how they feel, students, about their vote for Donald Trump. What would they do if given a do-over? That's next on The Will Cain Show.
It is time to take the quiz.
It's 5 questions in less than 5 minutes. We ask people on the streets of New York City to play along. Let's see how you do.
I'm having what she's having. It's a quote from a 1989 film starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. Name the film.
E.T. When Harry Met Sally.
You got it. When Harry Met Sally.
Either way you did, you can always try again tomorrow. Take the quiz every day at thequiz.fox. Then come back here to see how you did.
Thank you for taking the quiz.
This is a new beginning.
Where common sense
is our common ground.
We're telling your story.
Is the most important story.
And we're not afraid to tell it.
Where American values unite us.
And don't divide us.
This is a time to come together.
For you.
For me.
For all.
For all.
For all.
For all.
For all.
For all America.
For all America.
Fox News Channel. America is watching.
I'm Benjamin Hall, Fox News senior correspondent and New York Times best-selling author, and I'm searching for heroes. Every Monday, I'll speak with a few silent but noteworthy heroes, everyday people who illuminate stories of compassion and are true embodiments of heroism. Make sure you subscribe to my podcast, Searching for Heroes with Benjamin Hall, wherever you download podcasts, and please leave a rating and a review.
What do the students and the experts say about the first 100 days of Donald Trump? It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, and Fox News Facebook. Hit subscribe at Spotify or Apple and join us every Monday through Thursday. I was listening this weekend. I had multiple soccer games across the DFW area, so 30, 40-minute drives back and forth. And I was listening to the All In podcast. I don't know if any of you guys ever listened to the All In podcast. Chamath Palihapitiya, David Sachs, Jason Calacanis, and more. Tech entrepreneurs, tech investors, tech billionaires, at least 100 millionaires, discussing politics, the economy, and tech. David Sachs is now the AI and crypto czar for the president's administration. And they invited on in this particular episode a couple of guys sort of from the left and libertarian to discuss the first 100 days. I just want to tell you, we did our grades here. I talked about what I thought. But it was interesting in this discussion to listen to a couple of issues I hadn't thought about and to revisit the issue that everyone is thinking about. First, I do think it's true, and this isn't just coming from David Sachs, who works for the administration, but a guy like Chamath Palihapitiya, who's a tech, entrepreneur. Some of the areas where there's definitely a high grade for the administration, and these are big. These aren't small areas. So first of all, the investment in the United States for the first 100 days announced by foreign corporations and domestic corporations to build manufacturing, next generation artificial intelligence, and the future economy right here in America. That's been an absolute A+. We've seen trillions committed to building the future economy right here in America. We've seen the announcement, by the way, in places like Texas and Louisiana of AI infrastructure being built. The AI race is going to determine a lot of who owns the next century, which country dominates economically and through national security the next century. And it is essential that we prioritize artificial intelligence. And the Trump administration has, keeping it open source, deregulating, and providing carrot incentives of companies to invest in America. If you don't, and China gets to dominate that, you can find yourself in the same kind of situation that we are in with rare earth minerals, which is a bad news place. We have rare earth minerals here in the United States. What we don't have is processing power to turn that into usable products like magnets. China dominates 90% of that market. So And that's happened over a period of years that now the Trump administration is focused on recapturing. But here's the scenario. Say China were to invade Taiwan, and we would have to choose a side. We have pledged to defend Taiwan. Or say China and India got into a war, and we would have to choose a side. If we were anti-China, not just with rare earth minerals, but the manufacturing base to support not T-shirts and tennis shoes. That's not the Chinese economy anymore. But advanced manufacturing that goes into our ability to manufacture. So like the stuff that goes into our factories. And then also pharmaceuticals. It would set us back, some suggest 50 years if we were cut off there from China. So this entire thing, including the tariffs, is to recapture that part of our future economy, which has already begun with the foreign investments, A+. Then there's the tariffs. And this is where the biggest side of the debate was on. On one side, you have the critics who call it chaotic, that we're on the verge now of an inventory crunch, stuff stuck at the docks, stuff stuck in bonded warehouses, stuff not entering the supply chain. And if it is, it's paying massive tariffs. That will in turn lead to layoffs in the next couple of months. This is what people say, specifically at small businesses. On the flip side, the argument is we were on an unsustainable path and nobody had anything to say about it. Like it was a clearly unsustainable path to let China dominate so much of our economy. But now everybody's an expert on how you do it. And there is no doubt the communications has been chaotic. And there have been pivots and repivots and drawbacks. But, you know, the other way to do it. So Donald Trump comes out with across-the-board Liberation Day tariffs. And then he starts to make exceptions for auto tariffs and this and that and this and that and pokes holes in it as he sees the way it affects the economy. And you could say, that's haphazard. That's terrible. And that's chaos and uncertainty. Or you say, the other way to do it is to sit around in a congressional committee, like Rand Paul would propose, writing papers for the next 5 to 10 years that ultimately absolutely go nowhere. So the question is, how will it all play out over, let's call it a 6 to 12 month period, as trade deals begin to come in and markets adjust and positive news, presuming this all happens, comes in. There may be some short-term rise in unemployment. There may be some short-term rise in inflation, although we should point out that hasn't happened yet. That's all projection. The month of April was great. The stock market is higher than it was on Liberation Day. And the labor force participation rate is higher today than when Doge started while government jobs are down. So Doge cuts government jobs, and yet labor force participation goes up. That means we have private economy employment, less necessity to depend upon the government. So the tariffs are an incomplete. And when I had a guest last night, we said they could go towards a D. But you know what else they could do? Absolutely stick the landing over the next, and I think you have to give them a year, but the next year for an A+. Foreign policy, this was brought up on the All In podcast. Okay, we don't know. How's it going to go with Putin? How's it going to go with Zelensky? But here's what we do know. We were on a glide path of escalation towards something that could be World War III. Continued investment, continued bombastic rhetoric, continued belligerence, and continue not talking to, in other words, no diplomacy with Vladimir Putin. And that changed on a dime with Trump's presidency. Will he pull it off? We'll see. But we are off that glide path to escalation. We're off that glide path to war. And that's got to be seen as an A+. Everyone thinks that immigration, the border, is an absolute A+. There are people that disagree on deportations. I actually happen to think there's the concern over due process for illegal immigrants is overblown. I think the public polling suggests people like this and want to see it. And I'm going to tell you a story really quickly. I have friends, I know people who are illegal immigrants, and we talk openly. And I know some from El Salvador. And I asked one, hey, what do you think about all this? And he goes, it's good. I'm like, you're not worried about being deported? And he goes, well, they're focused on bad people. And bad people should be deported. People that come here, and look, and he's already broken the law. This guy's broken the law, right? But by illegal immigrating, but nothing more. What I mean by that is he's like, you come here and you keep your nose down and you work and you do a good job, be a good person, and you'll probably be safe. It's the guys that don't that are getting deported. There was something interesting about that because that's not the story. Whether or not you agree or disagree, and you're like, oh, you should go or should not go, I get that, whatever. But that's not the story you're told. That's not the image you're given of this entire thing, of people hiding in the shadows and scared. And it's actually the opposite, and it's endorsement. Got to get rid of bad people. I asked about the prisons in El Salvador as well. He said, bad people. I said, how much? Like 75%? He goes, no, 95%. And I go, what's that other 5%? Mistakes? He goes, yeah, mistakes. Like you're hanging out around the bad people, but you're not a bad person. That's who ends up in prison in El Salvador. He loves Bukele, by the way. Loves what he's done in El Salvador. I found that conversation fascinating. Last, vibes and wokeness. It's dead. I mean, wokeness is virtually dead. David Sachs brought this up, and that's a big pivot. It's easy to sound like a small thing, but think about how big it was in our lives a few years ago. How many people were terrified to talk, the cancellations, the way it affected your workplace, the way it affected pop culture. It's dying. An absolute A+. That's from the experts at the podcast All In. But I also want to talk to some students, some young people on the ground. So I went to the University of Dallas and met with students who range from freshmen to seniors about how they felt about this first 100 days of the presidency of Donald Trump.
Thank you guys for being with me here today. Let's start with a little bit of a poll. If you voted for President Trump in 2024, would you raise your hand? All right, here we are, 100 days into his second term. I'm curious, if you had a do-over today, how many of you would again vote for President Trump? That took a minute, Justin. Tell me what was in your thought process. Everyone else's hand went up pretty quickly, reaffirming what they chose in the fall. You thought about it for a minute.
Well, for me, the most important issue to me, my conviction, is that for the baby in the womb, I think we have an obligation to protect them. So that's the first thing. It's like you have two candidates. One is, if not pro-life, at least just wants to keep the status quo on abortion, whereas the other one wants to expand it, highly expand it. At the same time, though, all the other things that Trump has done, I'm personally not too big a fan of. I personally think that if Kamala was pro-life, I would have voted for her.
Emily, what do you like the most, or what has validated your vote for President Trump?
Just DOGE in general. I think it's well done. I think it's very much needed. If you look at the money we were spending, tens of millions of dollars for hotel rooms for illegal aliens in New York City, millions of dollars to promote LGBT in other countries, and over $15 million in Social Security payments for individuals above the age of 109. So, I mean, those are just a few things. I think DOGE is very necessary to kind of go in there and see what the government has been doing with our money and how we can better spend it. As a competitive dancer, I also really appreciate the fact that he has cracked down on men and women's sports because they have greater lung capacity, they have greater bone density, their hearts are bigger and can beat blood more easily. It's just patently unfair and also unsafe for the women, frankly, and so I really appreciate what he's done with that.
Kim, you're an athlete here at the University of Dallas. You play golf. Is that a big issue, as just laid out by Emily? Is trans men in women's sports, was that a big issue for you in your vote?
It certainly played a part in my vote. It wasn't, I would say, the main reason I voted for Trump, but what he has done with the trans issue has been exceptionally helpful for college sports, having the NCAA make very clear rules that protect athletes of both genders, as well as, I think, honestly help trans people by removing a point of controversy for sports that really sports doesn't need right now.
I'm curious with the rest of you. When you look at Elon Musk, when you look at DOGE, do you see this as a net positive for the United States? Marianne?
I consider DOGE to be a really innovative idea. I think it is important to have transparency between the people and the government as to where our taxpayer dollars are going. However, because it is such a new idea, as you just mentioned in your earlier statement, there's always going to be ups and downs when you bring innovation into the game. And so I think that's just a part of the process of figuring out how to make it more efficiently, how to make it more efficient, how to make government run more efficiently. There's always going to be some trial and error with that just because it's such a new idea, but I think it's good that they're doing that for the long term.
Jude?
I think DOGE has been super helpful
for the United States government, especially, eliminating things like USAID. And you saw the contracts they were pulling out. They're very transparent about what it is they're cutting, especially at the beginning. And we've hit, road bumps recently. And it seems, they keep on scaling back their promises about what they're intending to do, but the fact that the government does need to be made much more efficient is evident, and not something that's unique to Republicans either.
The philosophy has been move fast and often. So do you like that, not just with Doge, but the entirety of the Trump administration?
I would say certain things. I think our system's set up to make things move slowly for a reason. I do not like that they've been trying to do everything through executive order. Ideally, Congress would be backing some of those things up. But I think things like immigration are necessary to, it's necessary to be done through executive order and do that quickly.
Marianne?
I'm also going to say that what he's done with immigration has been probably one of my favorite things, because as a daughter of two legal immigrants who came to the United States and someone whose parents are still trying to get my family from the Philippines to come to the United States, I appreciate that they're trying to prioritize that and making sure that people can come here legally as opposed to illegally. In terms of my least favorite thing, it's probably going to be, I wish I could see more action from the administration regarding the pro-life movement, because while Dobbs, the overturning of Roe v. Wade and everything, was a significant win for the pro-life movement, there are still some issues that are going on, such as with the abortion pills, and those getting transferred across state lines, even if it's illegal in a particular state. So I would like to see more action from the administration about that.
Justin?
I'm going to be honest, I spent that entire time trying to come up with something I liked about what Trump has done. So I'll just start with something I've disliked. Just his foreign policy, foreign affairs policies in general, how he's handled, the wars in the Middle East and in Ukraine, the tariffs, those are things, just the general foreign policy things that I'm not too big a fan of. As for a favorite thing, I guess when it comes to ensuring equality within sports or something like that, or ensuring that women's sports are protected, women are protected, because transgenderism is a whole other issue, but I think at the very least it's important to protect women in sports and the competitive field. So
you guys are young, you may change your points of view, and that's great. You shouldn't be expected to be the same 10 years from now that you are today. But what do you think will be the same for you? What will still be important?
So the most important thing is always going to be the welfare of American citizens, whether that's education and the broken education system, whether that's illegal aliens, and feel like you're losing your country in a sense, and national security issues. And so I think that's always just going to be the most important thing is economic freedom, religious freedom, the education system, and just the national security issues.
Yeah, I like your question because I know my opinions on certain things have been changing, especially during this time in college. You're learning a lot of new things. I know the one thing that won't change is my opinion on life, though. I think, we're seeing a lot of attacks on life with abortion and euthanasia. And so I think, 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, wherever I am, unfortunately, Trump hasn't been that present, so we've had to focus on other things, but I hope future presidents can really take a strong stance on, look, if this is a life and we believe it's murder, then it's got to be stopped at a national level.
I really do appreciate Trump standing up to China, putting tariffs on China, because the FBI estimates that it costs us up to $600 billion a year with them stealing our intellectual property. Xi Jinping wants China to be the most powerful nation in the world, and they do not share our ideals. We have to be vigilant about that. So vigilance with our foreign adversaries, vigilance with the border, and even just making sure our allies don't take advantage of us.
All right. Emily, Aiden, Kim, Jude, Marianne, Justin. Awesome conversation. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
18 to 22 years old, freshman to senior, incredibly thoughtful and impressive young people know what they believe in, also with the humility to know they may change their mind at some point, and 7 out of 8, or actually is 8 out of 8, would recommit their vote to Donald Trump. Only one hesitant, and that's because basically he was on the left, except he's extremely pro-life. But all very, very thoughtful there at the University of Dallas. All right, when we come back, President Trump has suggested he wants to reopen Alcatraz as a federal prison. So what do you really know about Alcatraz? Our quiz when we come back on The Will Cain Show.
From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
Hey there, it's me, Kennedy. Make sure to check out my podcast, Kennedy Saves the World. It is 5 days a week. Every week, we check in with Jimmy Fallon, bring in authors for the book club, and even treat some of your favorite Fox personalities to a very special happy hour. Download and listen at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.
Kennedy Saves the World. America's listening to Fox News. Did you hear the news? Now you can. With instant updates from Fox News for Amazon Alexa. Breaking stories and top headlines, the economy, and so much more. Brought to you by Fox News, America's #1 cable news network. Plus, setup couldn't be easier because everything's ready to go in the app. Just say,
Alexa, play news from Fox.
In Fox News.
it's the latest when you need it, on demand from Fox News and Amazon Alexa.
It is time to take the quiz.
It's 5 questions in less than 5 minutes. We ask people on the streets of New York City to play along. Let's see how you do.
I'm having what she's having. It's a quote from a 1989 film starring Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. Name the film.
E.T. When Harry Met Sally.
You got it. When Harry Met Sally.
Either way you did, you can always try again tomorrow. Take the quiz every day at thequiz.fox. Then come back here to see how you did.
Thank you for taking the quiz.
What do you really know about Alcatraz? Is it just the movie The Rock? It is the Will Cain Show, streaming live at foxnews.com, on the Fox News YouTube channel, on the Fox News Facebook page. Hey, hit subscribe at Apple or Spotify. Hang out with us every day here at the Will Cain Show. Jump into the comments section, become a member of the Willisha. Like Lumberjack, who says, people better start taking serious what these Democrats are doing. This is our lives and livelihoods and your children's lives and livelihoods they're playing with. Game on Tunes says, word on the street is Gen Z is ultra-based. I guess having rainbow flags forced on your schools has backfired. And then Chris Kane says, hi, Will, I've been watching your show at 4. Carville made me so mad that I could have chewed nails. How do you keep your cool? Yeah, you know what? I get that. I literally get that from viewers sometimes. Like, why do you have these people on? You know, it makes me so mad. I had to change a channel. What I mean by I get that is when you're not a participant, when you're a viewer, you feel a little out of control in what you're hearing, and then so you outsource it to me to sort of cathartically do or say what you want to be said or that kind of thing. But as a participant, I don't get mad. I mean, I would probably liken it to, you ever hear the, like, we were talking about playoff hockey. The tension that we feel as fans is higher than the tension they feel on the ice, you know? Any game for that matter, because you're competitively engaged and you're not as like nervous and tense. And I don't feel that way when I'm debating somebody. You know, there are times when I get mad, make no mistake. And I think it's pretty evident. My mom says she doesn't like it when I do these because I look so mean and mad, but I'm not mad. I'm just intense. But I have gotten mad, but I mean, I wasn't mad when Carville's, I'm listening. And then, you know, prepared to respond. But I get it. I get how you feel, Chris. All right. Tinfoil Pat, 2-a-days, Dan. Alcatraz. Donald Trump has said he wants to reopen the federal prison for some of the worst of the worst. He tweeted, rebuild and open Alcatraz. For too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders, the dregs of society who will never contribute anything other than misery and suffering. When we were, by the way, misery capitalized, suffering capitalized. When we were a more serious nation in times past, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm. That's the way it's supposed to be. No longer will we tolerate these serial offenders, also capitalized, who spread filth, bloodshed, and mayhem on our streets. That's why today I'm directing the Bureau of Prisons, together with the Department of Justice, FBI, and Homeland Security, to reopen and substantially enlarge and rebuild Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. Again, offenders capitalized. We will no longer be held hostage to criminals, thugs, and judges that are afraid to do their job, and allow us to remove criminals who came into our country illegally. Country capitalized. And reopening Alcatraz will serve as a symbol of law, order, and justice, and we will make America great again. Why does he pick certain words to capitalize?
I mean, at least bold, like capitalize the whole word.
He does that.
Yeah.
He did that on Alcatraz and a few others. But then the first letter of the word, like offenders and country, is that emphasis? Like, what's he going for? Emphasis there? Like
pronoun thing?
I don't know what that is.
Just saying.
With misery and suffering, I thought he was doing it, and it was kind of a code, and it was going to be MS, and I was looking for how to get 13 out of that.
No. Like it's a word code within his Truth Social post. I wouldn't put it past
All right, this is one of those issues that it kind of is cool on the surface, but I mean, it's not realistic. The cost to house inmates at Alcatraz, from what I've read, is 3 times what it costs to put them at, say, Leavenworth, in Kansas. So it costs more. Also, have you guys been to Alcatraz ever? I've been to Alcatraz, which is awesome, by the way. You got to go. That tour, there's something about it, obviously, that captures public imagination. But it is decrepit and old, man. Like, it's one of those deals, like, I think you'd have to knock it down and then rebuild it from scratch to meet modern prison facility standards. Like, there's no refurbishing this thing, It's in bad shape. So it would be expensive from start to finish for what? For a cool symbol? Like, you're going to Alcatraz? It's a pretty cool symbol as a museum, though. I mean, that's another thing. We don't get to go anymore if it's full of prisoners,
I bet people.
I've always said I want to do the escape from Alcatraz swim. It's triathlon. I don't want to do the biking and running on the hills of San Francisco, but I would like to swim from Alcatraz to San Francisco.
We need to get Nicolas Cage, Sean Connery out there,
This is it.
To open
this
it up.
This is what we know of Alcatraz.
This
is it right here.
Nicolas Cage.
It's a fantastic movie, but
I don't think Sean Connery.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we know besides The Rock? 2 days, you have a quiz for us on Alcatraz.
I do. Doing the same music as before, because why not? All right. So I have 5 questions that are based on knowledge of Alcatraz. So first question was, what was the original purpose of Alcatraz Island before it became a federal prison? Was it A, a lighthouse station, B, a military fortification, C, a quarantine hospital, or D, a trading post?
I got it. Do you have it, Patrick? Do you want to go against me here?
Sure. Bring it. You can go first if you want, or whatever.
All right, but don't just ride my wake through this.
I'm not.
It was B. It was a military base.
What do you think, Patrick?
I was going C, so.
It is B, a military fortification. Alcatraz was initially developed in the mid-1800s as a military base equipped with the West Coast's first lighthouse. It later served as a military prison before its conversion into a federal penitentiary in 1934. Mm-hmm.
To be fair, you've been on the tour, so.
Yeah,
to be fair.
That's not fair. All right. Question 2. Which notorious gangster played the banjo in Alcatraz's inmate band called the Rock Islanders? Was it A, Al Capone, B, George Machine Gun Kelly? Was it C, Robert Birdman Stroud, or D, Mickey Cohen?
Oh, I don't know this.
It's a good one. The Rock Islanders, inmate band, played banjo.
Well, I've never heard a single thing about Al Capone being a musician at all, so not Al Capone. It could be Birdman because we really only know that one part of his story, that he tried to escape that way. What was D?
D is Mickey Cohen.
Gangster?
Mm-hmm.
Mickey Cohen?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know much about Mickey Cohen. By the way, you want to know what my Wikipedia rabbit hole was this weekend? Always a good weekend. I've fallen down this rabbit hole numerous times in my life, but I did deep gangster work this weekend. Like Five Families of New York. I watched a terrible movie that I don't want to recommend to anybody, starring Robert De Niro, called Alto Nights. He plays both Frank Costello and Vito Genovese, and it's terrible. But it did send me on the. I want to dive deep on the Italian mafia again.
Fascinating.
So what was B? Machine Gun.
B was George Machine Gun Kelly, not to be confused with the
I'm
rapper.
going B.
What do you got, Patrick?
I'm going B.
I'm going C again because the mafia guys don't really sound like they would be into it. But
banjo. You're probably right.
Both of you are wrong. It's A. Al Capone played the banjo.
Really?
Yeah, during his
banjo?
During his incarceration, Al Capone played the banjo in the prison band the Rock Islanders, showcasing a different side of the infamous mobster. So apparently played.
A banjo is a southern instrument. Like, I can't see him. He's from Chicago.
There's a lot of time on your hands.
Can you imagine Al Capone not being the lead singer? He's like, yeah, I'll play banjo. You guys take the lead. I don't see that.
Al Capone's brain was rotted out from syphilis or something, so I don't know how he was able to learn to play the banjo during that time.
Ding, 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 ding. All right, question 3. What was the average daily cost per inmate at Alcatraz compared to the national average at the same time of its operation? So other...
I just said this.
Yes. Unfortunately, A, $3 at Alcatraz versus $1 nationally, $5 at Alcatraz versus $2 nationally, $13 at Alcatraz versus $5 nationally, or $20 at Alcatraz versus $10 nationally. A, B, C, or D?
A, 3-1.
What do you think, Patrick?
I'm going to go with that. I'm not going to be stupid.
It is C, $13 at Alcatraz versus $5 nationally.
That just exposed me for fake news in my setup. I read this morning it was 3-1. Oh.
I'm getting 13.
Chat GPT.
Wow.
You just got GPT, dude. Okay, question 4. Moving on. How many escape attempts were made from Alcatraz, and how many inmates were never found? So there's two numbers to each answer. A, 14 attempts, 5 inmates never found. B, 10 attempts, 3 inmates never found. C, 20 attempts, 7 inmates never found. D, 5 attempts, 2 inmates never found.
B was 14 and 5. Is that what
B
it was?
was 10 and 3. A was 14 and 5.
What was? Okay, I'm going 10 and 3. B.
That's
Patrick.
rough. Okay, so yeah, it's either between B or D, I think. But I'm going to go with B, probably.
Right in my wake. Now it could have been A. Hold on. It could have been A. I know there was the 4 guys that made the raft, and then they're the guys that made the heads in their bed so that the guards would think they were still sleeping in the morning. And I thought there was 4 of them, and I couldn't remember if all 4 of them disappeared. This is why I went with. So I thought maybe just 3 of them disappeared and 1 was found. What's the answer?
The answer is A, 14 attempts, 5 inmates never found. So I have between 1934 and 1963, there were 14 escape attempts, including 36 inmates. While most were captured or perished, 5 inmates were never found and are presumed drowned.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Question number 5. What unique feature did Alcatraz offer to prevent inmates from becoming acclimated to cold water, thus deterring escape attempts? A, cold water showers. B, heated cells. C, warm water showers. D, daily swimming exercises.
Wait, so this was provided to them or deprived of them?
What unique feature did Alcatraz offer to prevent inmates from becoming acclimated to cold water? So that deterred them.
It's got to be hot showers. It's got to be hot showers.
Patrick?
Whatever that was.
Yeah. What was D?
D was daily swimming exercises.
Well, that's not it. I'm going to go with, what was C?
Warm water showers.
What was B? Great radio.
Heated cells.
I'm going to go with B, just not to copy.
It was C, warm water showers. Alcatraz provided warm water showers to inmates, a rarity in prisons at the time, to prevent them from acclimating to cold bay waters, thereby discouraging escape attempts.
I remember on the tour they said it was super cold at
Yeah.
Alcatraz, by the way. It
Must
wasn't
be
going to be
freezing.
heated cells.
It's insane.
Yeah, it was super cold. It's cold in San Francisco. People forget that. And then it's out there in the middle of the bay, and it has super drafty.
I would love to do a poll to see how many people know where Alcatraz is in this country. I bet most people.
Oh, that would
know.
be interesting.
Yeah, I bet
Yeah.
most people wouldn't know.
There you have it. What you didn't know about Alcatraz. I got a trivia question for you guys on Alcatraz. After it was a federal prison, but after it was shut down, who took over Alcatraz? Much like in the movie The Rock.
U.S. Navy.
Hostile takeover of Alcatraz. Hostile takeover of Alcatraz.
Pirates.
I believe, you search this while I do this.
Okay.
It was like a Native American separatist movement. Rode out there, took over Alcatraz, made it their, last stand. And I think it had to be invaded. Or I can't remember if they negotiated a peace at the end of it. But I think I have the details roughly right on that 2 days.
After Alcatraz prison closed in 1963, the island was taken over by a group of Native American activists in 1969. The occupation was led by a group called Indians of All Tribes, who claimed the island under the terms of the 1868 Treaty of Fort Laramie.
Oh, maybe they abandoned it. Because it's like, I think they ended up abandoning it. I can't
After
remember if they got
19
driven
months. 19 months they lasted there.
It's because it's like impossible. You had to, you know, that's the thing about having prisoners there. You've got to, everything has to be imported, obviously. Everything, like all the food, everything. I don't know if they did laundry on site. It's like ships going in and out all the time to support that place. But it is awesome. And it would, to tinfoil, it would be an awesome symbol. Just an expensive, awesome symbol. All right, there. Now you know a little more about Alcatraz that you didn't know at the beginning of the show. All right, that's going to do it for us today. On Thursday, live event in Dallas, the KRLD showroom studio audience for this show, this version of the Will Cain Show. Come hang out. If you're in the North Texas area, go to KRLD.com, buy tickets. I hope to meet you, talk to you on Thursday in Dallas. We'll see you next time.